last train out of Millbrook Station left at 11:52 p.m. on a Friday in March. I know the exact time because I still have the ticket stub. I keep it in the front pocket of my jacket. I don't know why I keep it. I think it's because throwing it away would mean I'm done trying to understand what happened, and I'm not done yet. I had missed the 10:15 because of my sister's birthday dinner running long. Nothing dramatic, just wine and pasta and her husband talking too much about his job. I almost stayed the night, I wish. Some days that I had. Millbrook is a small commuter station in western Pennsylvania, about 40 miles east of Pittsburgh. One platform, 2 waiting benches, a vending machine that takes your dollar and gives you nothing. I stood on that platform for 30 minutes with one other person. A woman in a red coat reading something on her phone. And when the train finally pulled in, she looked at it and walked away. Back through the turnstile, out to the parking lot. She didn't say a word. I got on. The doors closed behind me. Here's the thing I need you to carry for me. Here's the question I wake up asking. The conductor announced a stop called Harrow's Crossing about 20 minutes outside Millbrook. I have ridden that line for 11 years. There is no Harrow's Crossing. There never has been. I still don't know what is at Harrow's Crossing. I'm not sure I want to, but I know it almost got off the train to find out. The car I boarded had 12 rows of seats, standard commuter configuration. Blue and gray upholstery, the kind that smells faintly of industrial cleaner and old paper, overhead fluorescent strips, 2 of which were dimming, cycling between bright and something not quite bright, the kind of flicker you don't notice until you notice it and then you can't stop. I sat in the 3rd row from the front, left side, window seat, because the window was slightly fogged and I could press 2 fingers against it and feel the cold coming through the glass. That's a habit. I've done it since I was a kid on trips with my father. I don't know what it's supposed to mean. The train moved. I put my headphones in. A podcast about unsolved cold cases, which feels ironic now. I lasted maybe 4 minutes before I pulled them out. The car was too quiet for headphones. I don't mean it was peaceful quiet. I mean it was the kind of quiet that makes headphone audio feel intrusive, like you're making noise in a place where noise isn't allowed. I looked at my phone. 19% battery. I had left my charger at my sister's, which I had noticed in the car and meant to go back for and didn't. The train passed through a stretch of dark farmland. No lights outside. Just my reflection in the foggy window, which I looked away from. The overhead speaker clicked. Not the chime you normally get before an announcement, just a click. A dry, deliberate sound like someone pressing a button to check if the line is open. Then the conductor's voice. Next stop, Millfield Junction, arriving in 4 minutes. That was normal. Millfield Junction is the first stop on the route, 6 miles out from Millbrook. I had heard that announcement 100 times. I put my head back and closed my eyes. At Millfield, the doors opened. Cold air came in. I heard the doors close. I did not hear anyone board. The train moved again. I opened my eyes. There was someone in the seat across the aisle, 5 rows back. I had not heard anyone sit down. The doors had been open for maybe 30 seconds. I had not seen anyone walk past me. He was an older man, maybe 65, maybe older. Dark jacket, no tie, gray hair, neat. He was sitting with his hands folded in his lap, looking at the seat back in front of him. Not at his phone, not at a book, just looking at the seat back. I told myself he had gotten on at Millfield, and I simply hadn't noticed. That's what I told myself. I looked at my phone instead. The speaker clicked again. Next stop, Dunbarrow, arriving in 7 minutes. I opened my Maps app. Dunbarrow is not on the line. The next stop after Millfield Junction is Carver Station, a 12-minute run. Dunbarrow has not existed as a name on any map I can find. I've looked. I've spent a lot of time looking since that night. The train did not slow down. It did not stop. It passed through whatever Dunbarrow was without incident, and the speaker did not comment on that. I turned around fully and looked at the man 5 rows back. He had not moved, hands folded, eyes forward. "Did you hear that announcement?" I said. He turned his head toward me. His eyes were light-colored, maybe gray, and he looked at me the way you look at something that has asked an unexpected question. Not startled, just recalculating. "I don't listen to the announcements," he said. His voice was quiet and even. He turned his head back toward the seat back in front of him. That was the end of the conversation. I thought about pushing it. I didn't. I made a note in my phone, 11:58 p.m. Dunbarrow. Never heard of it. I saved it and put the phone down and watched the dark farmland pass outside and tried to identify a reasonable explanation. The speaker clicked a third time. Next stop, Carver Station, arriving in 8 minutes. That was the name I recognized. Carver Station was on the map, was on the schedule, was 9 miles ahead of where we should have been. I felt the particular relief of a thing being normal after a thing being strange, and I relaxed into my seat. Then I realized I should be able to see the Carver lights by now. It was a town of about 11,000 people. There should have been glow on the horizon, parking lot lights, a gas station, the lit windows of a 24-hour diner that sat directly beside the station entrance. There was nothing outside but dark. The train slowed. We stopped. The doors opened. I leaned toward the window and looked out. The platform was there, the standard commuter platform, concrete, covered overhang, the yellow safety stripe at the edge. But the station building behind it was dark, all of it. And the name sign at the far end of the platform, the blue and white placard they put at every stop so passengers can confirm where they are. It said, Carver Station, but the font was wrong. Slightly wrong, not a different font entirely. Just off, the way a word looks wrong when you've stared at it too long. Nobody got on. Nobody got off. The doors closed. The man 5 rows back had not moved toward the doors. I don't know why I checked. He was still sitting with his hands folded, looking at the seat back. I turned around fully. "What stop are you going to?" I said. He was quiet for a moment. A long enough moment that I thought he wouldn't answer. The end of the line, he said. "That's Pitts." "No," he said, flat and calm, like correcting a small factual error. "Not Pittsburgh." I faced forward. I put my hand against the cold window glass and pressed until I could feel my pulse in my fingertips. That's another thing I do. I've done it since that night specifically. It's a way of confirming something. The speaker clicked. Next stop, Harrow's Crossing. Arriving in 11 minutes. I got my phone out and typed the name into 3 different apps, maps, a train route archive site I had bookmarked, a Pennsylvania historical records database I found 2 months before this because I'd been doing local history research for a project at work. Nothing. Harrow's Crossing did not appear in any of them. Does not appear. I have checked since then many times. The train did not slow down at 11 minutes. It did not slow at 12. At 13 minutes, the brakes engaged and we decelerated, and I felt it in my chest, the way you feel a drop in altitude, that faint internal shifting. We stopped. The doors opened. I did not look out the window this time. I made myself not look. I stared at the seat back in front of me, and I counted the texture in the upholstery, and I listened. There was wind outside. I could hear it through the open doors, a low, sustained sound with no rhythm to it. There was no ambient noise of a town. No car engines, no voices, no hum of electric signage. Just wind and the low idle of the train itself. And then from somewhere down the platform, a sound I have not been able to explain to anyone in a way that satisfies them. Footsteps, not toward the train, away from it. Walking away down the platform at a pace that was neither fast nor slow. I counted 12 steps before they faded. Someone had been on the platform and they left when the train arrived. The doors closed. The train moved. I turned around. The man was gone. His seat was empty. Hands folded, gray hair, dark jacket, gone. I stood up and looked toward the back of the car. Empty. I walked toward the rear door and looked through the window into the next car. Empty seats. I walked forward and checked the car behind the engine. A service cart, a folded safety vest on a hook. Nobody. I went back to my seat. My phone said 2% battery. I turned off the map app, turned off the podcast app, turned off everything except the screen itself, and I typed one note and saved it. The note said, 12 steps on the platform at Harrow's Crossing, going away from the train. Man in dark jacket gone, do not get off at any announced stop. Phone died. I sat in the dark car with the flickering fluorescence, and I watched the window, and I made myself breathe at a normal rate. Because I had read once that breathing at a normal rate when you are scared is a way of telling your body something it doesn't yet believe. The speaker clicked. Next stop. Pittsburgh, Penn Station, arriving in 22 minutes. I knew that voice. I had heard it 1,000 times. But I will tell you what I had not noticed until that moment in a quiet car with nothing to distract me. The conductor's voice, over the course of the whole ride, had been slightly different each time. Not dramatically, not a different person, the same voice, but varying in a way a recording doesn't vary. A real voice varies slightly announcement to announcement because a real person doesn't say the same phrase the same way twice. I had heard 5 announcements by then. They had all varied. A loop of recorded stops would not do that. I don't know what conclusion I'm supposed to draw from that. I have not drawn a clean one. The train pulled into Penn Station at 12:41 a.m. The platform was lit and populated, a maintenance worker at the far end, a couple in a doorway waiting for something, the ordinary 12:41 a.m. population of a major transit hub. I walked off the train and through the concourse and into the parking structure, and I sat in my car for a long time before I drove. I have ridden that line twice since then, once in April, once in June. Both times were daytime runs, both were ordinary. Millfield, Carver, the standard sequence, Pittsburgh on schedule. I looked up the woman in the red coat, the one who left the platform when the train arrived. I don't know her name, I have no way of looking her up. But I have thought about her every week since March because she looked at that train and decided not to get on, and I have spent a lot of time asking myself what she saw that I didn't, the man in the dark jacket. I have no name for him either, but I found something, not about him specifically, about Harrow's Crossing. In a scanned county index from 1941, the kind of bureaucratic record nobody digitizes well, there is one reference to a siding called Harrow's Crossing, east of what is now the Carver Station location. It was an unscheduled freight stop. It was removed from all active rail maps in 1953, after an incident the index describes only as a service disruption requiring permanent reroute. I don't know what the incident was. I have not found another document that names it. I still have the ticket stub. I looked at it again last week, in good light, and I noticed something I had not noticed before. The destination field, the printed line that should say Pittsburgh, PA, it says Harrow's Crossing. It said that the whole time I bought that ticket at the Millbrook machine, I watched it print. I remember reading it under the platform light and thinking Pittsburgh and putting it in my pocket. I don't know what I read. I don't know what I almost got off the train to find. I don't think the 12 steps going away from the train were going somewhere. I think they were going to be close enough to the doors before they closed. I think whatever was on that platform at Harrow's Crossing has been waiting a long time for a passenger to step down. I think the woman in the red coat knew. I think she knew before any announcement was made.